Lesson number 1, trap and roll escape. Let's start with some solo movements that'll help you prepare for today's technique and warm up your body in the process. Lay on your back, you guys, and join me in these movements. Heels close to your hips. We're gonna be doing a lot of bridging today. So heels close, elbows tight to your body, bridge up, push onto one shoulder and touch the mat opposite your body. Going back down, switching sides, up, touch, back down, up, touch, back down. So you're looking in the direction and you're pushing off your feet as you reach up and across. Up, touch, reach, cross. Perfect. Perfect. Touch. All right, now check this out. Now we're gonna sit up, hug the body. So sit up, hug the body, pull the person down. Nice, do it again. Sit up, hug, and push off your feet, pull the person down. Very nice. Keeping your head off the ground. Sit up, hug, lock your hands, push off, pull them down, but your head stays close the entire time. Sit up, hug, pull. Now watch this. Taking your hands, put them higher, and then push off your feet and walk your shoulders up. Hands go north, shoulder walk. Hands go north, shoulder walk. Excellent. Spin around, sit up, hug, pull. Keep your head up and tight. Slide your hands up, walk north, slide your hands up. Look at my feet, I'm pushing off and I'm shoulder walking north. Excellent. Now check this one out. We're gonna be on our backs. We're gonna remove one hook. Okay, we'll talk about this in the lesson. I want you to straighten your leg, tuck it in with your heel close to your hip, and then immediately push off and reach up in the opposite direction. Same thing, other side. Straighten your leg, turn and tuck. When your heel touches your hips, push up, touch over. One more time. Straighten the leg, turn and tuck, push up, touch over. Straighten the leg, push up, touch, roll over. Beautiful. Now, let's do it where we actually go to our knees, you guys. So heels tight, reach up, bridge, touch the mat, and go to your actual knees. Okay, and then lay back down. Perfect. Elbows in, push off your feet, bridge up, look, 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 touch, switch your hips in the air, and land on both your knees. Lay back down. Excellent. Heels in close to your hips, elbows tight, bridge up, put all the weight onto one shoulder as you're looking in that direction, touch the mat, switch your legs, and then get up to your knees. From here, hands on the ground, right in front of you, you're gonna post up, you can do hands or you can do fist. You're gonna jump up, strong side back, disengage, and go back to your knees. Hands on their body, jump up, one foot in the middle and one foot back. Notice how when I'm putting my foot in my middle, all my weight's on my hands to allow that efficient get up. And then we're disengaging. One more time, you're here, fist, jump, disengage. Back down, last one. We're here, fist, jump, disengage. Excellent. All right, you guys. These are the solo movements that are gonna be most productive in preparing you for today's lessons. We'll see you in slice number 1. Lesson number 1, slice number 1, trap and roll escape, standard variation. When we talk about worst case scenarios, this is at the top of the list. Let's say Hidon's in an altercation, he gets taken down by a much bigger, heavier, stronger opponent, which is not unreasonable, and he lands in the bottom of the fight. The mount position, characterized by the fact that my knees are outside and on either side of his hips. This is called the mount, and if you wake up one morning, you don't want to find yourself where Hidon is right now. Here's why. Make a fist. He has very limited reach, but I don't. And this would be true even if I was shorter. We're about the same height, but even if I was shorter, I would be able to reach him from here in almost every case, and he cannot fire back. So the person has a major striking advantage from here. That's just simply put why this position is so bad, because here you are trying to punch from the bottom and you're getting punched from the top. Even if Hidon connects, I can ride with it. And if I land, boom, his head gets pushed right into the pavement. So very bad for many reasons. The question is, let's say we end up here, what would someone from the bottom who does not know Jiu-Jitsu try to do to escape? What would you do? Assuming the viewer right now does not know how to escape the mount position, what would someone try? Hidon, show me.
Probably start pushing.
Bench press. Very normal, right? This idea of just push the person off. And here's the deal. If they're much smaller and you're much bigger, maybe you throw them off. But that's not why we're learning Jiu-Jitsu. We're learning for the worst case scenario of someone much larger than us who's mounted. So this person's presumably bigger. And every time Hidon pushes me, I'm just going to stabilize with my hands. I'm not going to fall. He's burning energy in the process. And in one way, if he's pushing me up, it's almost like his same arms are pushing him down. So the same arms work in the opposite direction. What's another common behavior from down here?
Probably start to...
Maybe roll over. Roll, go. Good until you get your neck wrapped. Uh-oh. So turning your back, we talked about this being one of the worst case scenario, top of the list, worst case. We lied. Worst case is if you give your back to the subject, and now they can not only strike you in the back of the head, they can actually wrap your neck for a rear vascular neck restraint, which could be very dangerous if they wrap your neck and they squeeze.
I got one. What about maybe like eye gouging or groin shots?
They were thinking the same thing. Don't lie, you guys. You were thinking the same thing. If you go for the groin or for the eyes, these dirty fighting techniques could be effective. If you hit me and I fall, congratulations. Get up and go home. Problem is, if you don't knock the person out and you're going for the groin, boom, boom, and they're here striking you in the face, I don't think it's a wise exchange.
I agree.
To be trying to inflict pain and dirty fighting techniques from here. Not to mention the fact that when it comes to dirty fighting techniques, you're relying on a healthy neurological response by the attacker to that stimulus. So if you hit me in the groin and I'm on drugs or alcohol or adrenaline and I don't feel it, I'm coming back full tilt on your face, right? With my punches potentially. So what we're going to show today, trap and roll escape standard variation. Then we're going to talk about punch block variation, a couple other variations, headlock variation, things you can do when this first variation doesn't work. So we'll demonstrate this one, we'll break it down. You're going to practice it, and then once we're done, we're going to see other contingencies for when this one doesn't work. So check it out. So we're here. This first one is when the attacker has their hands on your chest or throat. Hidon will demonstrate it, then we'll break it down. And he's out, disengaging fully to a standing safer position. So Hidon, give him a brief breakdown of what just happened right there.
Here's what I did. I trapped the wrist, trapped the tricep, and trapped the foot. Raising my hips up, roll over, hands on the hips, disengage.
Simple enough, you guys. You can hang with us, you guys. Check it out. A little more detail.
So trapping the wrist with a thumbless grip and grabbing behind the tricep with a thumbful grip. Now I trap the foot on the same side with a slight angle to my knee, and pushing off both my feet, I'm able to raise my hips. I land directly on my knees, and then from here I block and pop up, pushing my weight down. It allows me to float to my feet. So when trapping someone's wrist, okay, I trap with a thumbless grip so that if I use a thumbful grip, his hand can slip out. You see that? But with a thumbless grip, his hand can no longer slip out. This is why I do that. Now, notice how my elbows are also tucked in when I grab behind the tricep. Slide your knees up under my arms. It's difficult. If my elbows were out, he would slide his knees up, and now he's no longer on my hips, so I can't move him off balance. So elbows are tucked in, grabbing behind the tricep with a thumbful grip. This is because he might want to pull his arm straight back. Go ahead.
And this one by itself would not prevent that from happening.
Correct. Go ahead, pull it back. I'm ready for that. I'm also ready to put the hand out there for that. Pull it out there, can't. Pull it back, can't. Trapping the foot on the same side. The slight angle of my knee allows me to have a little better trap of his foot. If my foot was flat, maybe he can potentially step his foot forward and out.
Or if you don't trap it at all, try to roll me without it.
If I don't trap it at all, his whole leg goes out, yeah. So here we are, I trap and I do a slight angle, so my foot is almost stepping on his foot from the side, and my hamstring is weighing a little bit on his calf right here. Now raising my hips up, pushing out both my feet, I bridge, rolling on my shoulder. I land on my knees. Landing on my knees gives me balance. I'm ready to go versus landing with my legs a little more extended where I'm off balance. So I'm on my knees, hands on his hips, and get up and get away.
And there are several different things that could happen after the roll. One is getting away, one is advancing your position. We're going to talk about all of them today, starting with this one. So go back to a couple other details here we want to call out. Not the least of which is Hidon talked about having those elbows in by your side, right? Because you need the subject sitting on your hips. If the elbows are out and their knees do land a little high, what Hidon can do is wiggle north and shove his elbows in. Look, so he re-achieved inside elbow positioning by moving north. Once he traps the wrist with the cross grip, and he grabs the elbow right here, and he goes to trap the foot. Sometimes the foot's a little hard to reach. Let go. Maybe that's the knees a little high in your armpit. So watch how Hidon's elbow can be used to feed the foot into that foot trap. So there's a major connection between this arm, my leg, and the trapability of my foot. And then a very common mistake is how people mistakenly trap not only just one foot, but they trap both feet. And if Hidon does that, I'm going to hook onto his back leg. So watch what he does with the back leg. He keeps it on the inside. So he's only actually trapping one foot at any given time here. He's locking it up, he traps the foot, and the arm and the leg, both appendages are trapped on the same side, which brings us to our priority principles that we want to identify for this particular slice. Of the 32 principles of Jiu-Jitsu, the two that we really want to call out for you to just to start developing a relationship with are the isolation principle and the Kazushi principle, okay? And they'll sound foreign at first, but then as you do more and more techniques, more and more slices through the course, you're gonna develop stronger and stronger relationships. The isolation principle is precisely that, the isolating of one or more limbs of your opponent for your advantage. So in this case, Hidon's isolating, preventing the movement of my limb preemptively so I can't post my hand out. That's why this move works. He's preempting the fact that I want to base out. He's locking it in, and he's doing the same thing to my foot. So if I'm an attacker who's choking him, hands on the throat, I have no idea that my arm and my leg are trapped preemptively, so that when I try to base out later, I'm unsuccessful at doing that, which is why I fall.
Yes. And when he tries to base out, tries to pull his arm out, there's a certain stickiness that I'm going to apply. So go ahead. If I'm very tense, sometimes the arm can pop out. So be ready. And when doing this isolation principle, when trapping an arm like this, whip your arm out, there's a little bit of flexibility in my control. So my body follows him a little bit, as well as my arms. Pull harder. There. Now I can, boom.
Nice. Which brings us to the second principle that we want to emphasize, which is called the Kazushi principle. And again, you can learn steps of a technique, or you can own principles that make the techniques work. The Kazushi principle is simply the principle of breaking your opponent's balance. Now, there are many ways to break someone's balance. In this case, the method of Kazushi is Hidon is isolating my arm, he's isolating my limb, and then what he's doing is, because these two isolated limbs cannot post out any further, his hips are going to move my center of gravity over the line that is created between those two isolated limbs. So right now I'm out of balance. But as Hidon's hips start to move my center of gravity, and I can no longer stabilize myself, look, he's not moving my arms, he's moving my center of gravity past the line that is formed by those two isolated or trapped appendages, which is why it works so well. Okay, so isolation principle and Kazushi principle, put those in the 32 principles bank account of your memory and your relationship, and we're going to use them a lot in future lessons and slices.
I'm going to put one hand on his neck, maybe the other hand on the ground, just so there's no weight on his neck right now. He's going to trap my wrist, grab behind my tricep, trap my foot, and here we are. He has isolated my arm.
If ever, he has two hands on my throat. Just real quick, instead of coming over you guys, you want to come under, because it allows your relationship with that arm to be tighter. If I come over, I can't use my back muscles because my elbow's kept so high. So if they are two on the neck, which they won't be during practice, it's a little easier to do it like this. But in reality, the move works here as well. It's just annoying for repeated practice with two hands on the throat.
So as he isolates the arm and traps my leg at the same time, isolates one side. It's all on one side. His neck is also very tight. He's keeping his neck strong. And then from here, like you said, raise his hips to knock my center. Oh.
People do this sometimes.
I have a hand on that side. On this side, though, I have no hand or no leg to post.
Make no mistake about it, you guys. When you trap the arm and the leg, you have to go in that direction for the roll. And a very common mistake.
It's not quite that direction.
Yeah.
It's that direction. So do it from here.
Let's do it from here. Because,
up and over.
If I roll you just sideways, watch how his knee will just open a little and he won't fall. Especially because Hidon has long legs. But if I trap this, hold this, and I go north, then at the peak of my bridge, he loses his balance because of that isolated limb, and that's why he falls. So let's think about it much more of a northward bridge, and then like we did in the solo preparation, okay, Hidon's hands on my neck. Initially, you're going to do 1, 2, 3, tuck, bridge. You're going to do it very robotically, and that's okay. But over more and more practice, you guys, the goal, even if done slowly, is this. Boom. And I can even do several reps. Boom. Boom. Where I'm just learning, like, connect. And I'm using my back, connect. And that's why this move works, is because I'm locking Hidon's arm in, and he cannot put it out for base. If they have a jacket or a gi or a sleeve on, you can grab the back of the sleeve as an option here as well. Sometimes the person's arms are so stiff right here, tall, like this, that if you try to do wrist and elbow, it actually feels quite awkward to hold the elbow that's not bent, or the tricep rather. It's kind of awkward to hold that's not bent. And in that case, if I bridge and roll Hidon, sometimes if you do this, the guy will just post their elbow on the mat. So it's a little bit awkward when their arms are fully locked. I've noticed that grabbing behind does not serve me as well as this. Put your elbow out again.
Oh, no, I couldn't.
So what I did was just a slight over the top transition, because I'm more concerned about him putting his elbow this way than pulling his elbow that way. Now, if you bend your arm and he's a little lower and gets squeezed, this feels very good. But for some reason, when they're very tall, I go wrist, and I go over right at the bend of the elbow, and I'm almost kind of bending it a little bit, but I'm really keeping his elbow from being able to spread that way by pulling it in and down.
It might not bend that much.
It might not bend, but when he goes to put it on the mat, it won't be able to.
So it's right here, the two grips, other foot is tucked. He puts his elbow out.
Look at my elbow, can't go out. Freeze. Watch my shoulder, I tuck it in.
So regardless of which variation you're doing, you guys, top person, tuck and roll that shoulder, and you're good to go. Once we land, brace the hips, jump up, disengage, and then we're switching rolls. Heel's back down. Okay, we're good to go. And if I put the hand here, he goes 1, 2, arm is bent, so he's there.
Yeah.
If I was really here, he might try on top, and then now just protect it from going out. So you can mess with either one of those. Foot is trapped, other foot is tucked. We're bridging up, and we're good to go.
Pull your arm out, pull your arm out, pull it out, pull it out.
Nice. That's called checking the legitimacy of the technique, where you're kind of checking here, checking there. And as a partner, you really want to do that.
Putting your hands on the person's hip bones versus putting your hands here, they're going to feel more comfortable for your partner. So find the hip bones, and you can truly give them your weight.
And versus, keep your toes back there and do a pushback. People do that often, where they just do a pushback, and now they're losing their balance. So it's critical. We did it during our solo prep. Hidon jumps up with a strong side back and one foot right between my legs. So he's one back, one forward, all the weight on my hips to allow that successful transition to his feet from the kneeling position. Okay, trap and roll, standard variation. Arms are on your neck. That's the indicator here. Is the arm is on your chest or throat. Naturally, practice it initially with one side. So we'll just do one rep and we'll reverse rolls.
Do it one more time by yourself.
Disengage. So from right here, elbows are in. Check it out. Cross grip, tricep, and foot. Okay, 1, 2, 3. And they can be all at the same time. Boom. Boom. Remember, Hidon said monkey grip on the wrist, C-clamp on the elbow. Keep that arm glued nice and tight to your body. The higher the elbows, the lower the leverage. Tighten those elbows in so you're using your back muscles and they can't post their hand out. And then look in the direction of the roll. Bridge, looking, bridge, looking, bridge, looking. Kick over to your knees. Once you land on your knees right here, brace the person's hips. Jump up with your strong side back. And we're disengaging. So that's how it might look solo without any distractions there. All right, we're going to do it one rep. We're going to reverse rolls. Top person, make sure you tuck that shoulder for safety. And essential in terms of like the collaboration, the feedback.
I like the top person being very helpful, giving them just enough resistance. Give like 20, 30% resistance, give your partner feedback. When you're on top and you're grabbing someone's neck, you are also doing the move through your partner. So as you see them grab the wrist, you confirm the details. For example, monkey grip on the wrist, glass of water behind the tricep. You're seeing these things, you're pulling the arm a little bit and you're rolling over. So you're involved even though you're behaving as the bad guy.
Okay, let's go slow. Let's help each other out. You guys take it very gradual. It's not about competing or seeing who's better, who defeats who. It's about developing a relationship with the technique. Very, very early relationship with the principles, because those are going to repeat themselves even in different techniques. Your relationship with isolation principle, Kazushi principle, and there are many other principles operating in a technique like this. We just don't want to prioritize any others for right now, except for those. We're going to hit all 32, but we want to focus on those 2 for right now, just so you can develop a relationship and keep it simple at this early stage, all right? Practice this one and do it 5 to 7 minutes of repetition back and forth, right? Help each other out. And then once you feel comfortable with this variation, we move on to slice number 2, the punch block variation, where things are a little bit different because the person's now throwing punches, but we'll get there only when you feel ready. Have fun, help each other out. Let's go. Trap and roll escape, punch block variation. If the person is strangling you with their hands, they might think they're doing you harm, but they're actually giving you a gift because their strangling hands are very trappable in the standard variation. If, however, you end up in the bottom of the mount and the subject achieves here full mount, and instead of grabbing you by the throat, they start dropping bombs. Boom, 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 which we could expect, right? If someone bigger lands on top of the mount, they want to do damage. Strangling is one way. Punching your face into the pavement is another way. And if you don't have a plan in this situation, right, depending on how we got here, it doesn't really matter. But once we land here, if you don't have a plan, you may cover up. What are we thinking here?
Yeah, you cover up and you get punched in the face. Maybe you roll over even faster, expose your neck even faster.
There you go. So I don't think striking back or covering up is going to do much. You might stop a few punches, but ultimately, since your hands are up, since I'm the one in control of my strikes and the distance, ultimately, I can do a lot of damage right here while Hidon's just simply trying to cover, and you block 2, 3, 4, but eventually 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10 land. And man, if those punches land, like we talked about, because the pavement is behind your head, there's nowhere for your body to absorb it. It could be very dangerous, right? This could be very dangerous. So instead, we have the punch block variation of the trap and roll. Let's demonstrate it, then we'll break it down, okay? Check it out. Nice. And then he's out. Excellent. Let's talk about it. So,
being able to recognize that someone's getting close to the mount. And right as somebody mounts, watch what I did. Hug the body. Pull them down. Climb north. Hug the back. Wrap the arm. Trap the foot. Bridge. Block potential punches.
Hands on the hips, disengage.
As he mounts, I sit up, and that allows me to hug the body. When Henner sits up, go ahead, I push off both my feet, and that brings him down, bringing him down. From here, using my arms, I climb north. Okay, climbing north. Keeping the body hug, I keep myself close. And now, reaching north, I wrap his arm and control his tricep right here. Trapping his foot again on the same side, raising my hips up, rolling him out. Blocking the biceps
By using my forearms.
and then here.
Hands on the hips and gone.
So right as somebody mounts, whoever manages the distance manages the damage. So when someone mounts you, right away you want to hug their body so that they can't sit up and create space and strike. So again, as he was mounting, I was hugging the body. From here, when he sits up, I don't want his hands to be free like this. So pushing off both my feet, it brings his hands to the ground. So now his arms are weight bearing. Keeping my head close, I'm gonna move up his back. And this puts me in a better position to be able to wrap this arm right here on the side that I'm facing. So I reach through and then I wrap his arm. With a good tricep control, elbow pinch, and a body hug, and a foot trap, his arm cannot pull out of here. And now I raise my hips up, send him on his way.
Excellent. So when we talk about the core principles, he don't mention the distance, right? The distance principle is one of the priority principles we want to emphasize for this slice. And simply put, it's knowing what the optimal distance is for your opponent's effectiveness and then doing everything you can to disrupt that distance. I want to sit up right here and drop these bombs. And I can. If Hidon does nothing, I'm going to find my perfect distance. I'm going to be effective. But the moment I mount, if Hidon understands that, even though he's underneath me in the fight, watch what he does. He just hugs me. So the very distance that I wanted to create, I can't. He's too close. Even if I hit him here, these are 1s and 2s on the grand punch power scale from 1 to 10. They're not going to be effective. Not to mention, he's going to push off the ground, forcing my hands to the ground right there. And then gradually, we transition here into principle number 2 that we want to emphasize for this discussion, which is the ratchet principle. This idea that throughout a situation like this, it doesn't have to be fast. 1 to 10, A to Z, doesn't have to be fast. But with the ratchet principle, it teaches that you want to make kind of incremental, gradual, but progressive steps in one direction in your favor without, right, receding at the same time. You want to move forward without going back. So you're creating progress in one direction without allowing, right, any type of progress for the opponent in the opposite direction. So you just ratchet-like progress, and that's what this technique really embodies, is that principle of making continuous little advancements on our opponent, gradual, grabbing, hugging, climbing up the body, trapping the arm, right? Trapping the foot, and then advancing in the final direction. So it's very much not a very fast and flashy technique. It's a slow, ratchet-like progress. And the key is just to stay tight and stay progressive in your movements.
Yes.
Okay? If I mount on Hidon, let's say I mount and he does not initially hug my body. Maybe he was sleeping, he wakes up, I already punched him once, and now he's awake, and he's here, and I'm already mounted. It's a little challenging now for Hidon to drop his hands and come hug my body because I'm already punching. Think of it like rain. If it's raining outside and you have your umbrella on, if you put your umbrella down to come right to, boom, you're gonna get rained on. So how do you hug my body without getting rained on with these punches? Watch. From here, he does one little bump, forcing my hands to the ground, and then he takes down the umbrella again. So Hidon's hands are up, cover your face. Look, he just hips up once. I have to brace myself. And now he can easily drop the umbrella and go hug the body safely because I've already posted out and I'm good to go right here. Safety tip. As Hidon climbs north right now in my body, watch my chin. Boom! This is a nice uppercut right here if you're not careful. So go back down, Hidon. And the reason why Hidon has to climb north is because if he tries to wrap my arm right here, it's too far away. So that's why once he's here, I'm making a very sturdy base. He ratchets up my body one at a time, little by little, pushing off his feet and climbs up until his head surpasses my shoulder. Once Hidon's head is north of my shoulder, he's in position for a nice arm wrap right here. Go ahead and boom, full trap with this arm, okay? Sometimes you'll trap it and grab the tricep when the person's trying to pull out. Sometimes this person does not try to pull out. Their elbow's down, so instead Hito's hand can just be right there on my rib cage. Look at his left hand near my ribs. That's just like an elbow pinch because I'm cooperative and I'm folding down with my body here. But if they try to pull this arm out, Hito definitely wants to hug on. And we'll talk about this hand, how important that is.
This arm right here keeps my body close to his body. It basically, if I have no back hug and I only have a tricep grab, he can pull his arm free. So I would say the back arm is probably 80% of the control of this arm of his. Pull your arm away, pull it further back, pull your arm back, back, back. Look how far his arm is. It's still within reach only because I have the back arm hugging his back. Now, when we move north, you mentioned as you sit up, maybe you're throwing punches, I bridge my hips, I knock him down. When you hug the body, you can move north both by hugging or by holding his shoulders and pulling up, whatever you have to do. The important thing is what? You keep your body and your head close. And if my head is down, Henry will remind me, hey, pick your...
That's the risk. Let's show the risk first.
Yeah, but that could also be how you remind someone.
Correct.
Slowly place your arm across their neck.
If Hito does not keep closeness, you guys, I can create space with a frame, and then I can start throwing punches from here. So his ability to prevent my hand from inserting by being so annoyingly close, and if I try to insert, he pushes off the ground and forces my hands back to the mat. So he keeps me honest on my hands are so heavy. You see, every time it's so annoying because every time I try to use it, he's always putting my hands back on the mat, and then he's climbing the tree simultaneously. But what Hito's pointing out is whether he locks his hands behind my back in a ratchet-like climbing the tree format, or whether he grabs my body with individually set grips on my shirt, on my shoulder, on my body, on my clothing, anything he wants to do. As long as he pushes off his feet to slide his head north of my shoulder, little by little, he's good to go. And once his head peeks out over the shoulder, his back hand, opposite of the way he's looking, the back hand is the one that hugs around my torso to maintain that closeness, and the direction Hito's facing is going to wrap the arm. Now sometimes, go back, the person pulls a punch right here. It's a perfect time to wrap the arm if they go for a punch. Sometimes they don't pull a punch. Their hands are just kind of posted out. The more narrowly positioned their arms are, let's go back. You're here hugging. The more narrowly positioned their arms are, the more likely they are trying to sit up. But the more narrow, the easier it is to wrap this arm. Look how easy. Sometimes we'll get an attacker, go back, whose hands are a little bit wider, even though he don't kind of slid up nice and high. My arms are a little bit wide, and if he goes to wrap it, it's a little hard sometimes to break it down. So if that happens, keep pressure on their elbow, keep the body hug, and now very slowly, Hito's going to push off both feet and make us fall. We fell down over our hands, and now as I try to regroup, he keeps the arm trapped. Safety tip right here. Move this way a little.
Look at his fingers. He tucks his hand under my back, just so it's a little more comfortable.
Turn and tuck. Okay, go back. If you leave your fingers out, you guys in practice, your fingers are going to get folded back really badly. Your wrist is going to get folded, your hand, it's going to suck. So bad guys, turn and tuck. Good guys, do not roll in practice until you tell me to if I forget.
Turn and tuck.
Turn and tuck. In real life, though, do not tell the bad guy. So turn and tuck. Now here on bridges, reaches, and rolls.
Bridges, reaches, and rolls. The
Get in my
big
guard.
reach.
After the roll, Hito lands right here. Let's talk about some of these safety components here, because there are different things that may happen after you roll the person. Simply jumping up to your feet right away is one option, but Hito wants to discuss now a little bit the idea of using frames to prevent access to your face. So talk about the nature of what's happening here.
So most people's nature will be to want to grab the arms, okay? We want our nature to be to block, especially when the bottom person's nature may be to strike. Because they just showed us, they were mounted on you attempting to strike. So they still might be in the energy of throwing punches, so we land here. Not with my hands holding, my forearms blocking. Maybe the back of my hands cupping lightly. Reach for my face. So I have my arm, I would say, is almost extended, maybe 45 degrees, if not a little bit more extended. Header might try to swim under my arm like that. Go do that again. And then my elbows can just lightly drop to the ground. So my forearms are strong, my elbows drop, my head is low, I'm blocking just for a few moments. Once I feel like I have a window to get up, I feel safe, hands on the hips, gone.
So since this person already showed striking intentions, it's good to land in the guard and be aware of what their hands are doing. Like, forearms, using these blocks, preventing their hands from accessing your face. That's a good natural reflex to have against someone who's already shown that they're really determined to attack your face. Now, because Hito's already mounted while I'm talking and I was not able to hug his body when you guys drill with each other, it's cool to do it like this. Start from here. When you actually practice, as they step over to mount, I'm already here. Boom. You see? So there is no first punch. That's nice. But we need to know both variations, so if he's here,
So it's also cool to do this.
it's also cool to do everything jiu-jitsu. So I'm protecting my face. My elbows are nice and high. My hips go up. He's going to post. Right when he does, I'll bring my hands down and I'll hug the tree right here. Look how low I am though. I'm not high enough. So just for drill purposes, he'd almost sit up a little bit to pull away. Pull away. I'll push out both of my feet and pull his hands back to the mat. When you do that, don't pull so hard that you hurt your partner's back. Right here, literally, sit up straight, Hito, all the way up. It doesn't take much for me to make Hito's hands hit the ground, so I'm not going to overdo it, but I am pushing off my feet. And then we do all the details he talked about. Every time his hands hit the ground, I ratchet, and then I push off my feet and I slide. And then if he sits up again, I'll pull now. Boom. And then every time he hits, I'll ratchet and slide. So it's kind of like I try to time my advancements, my ratchet-like advancements. I try to time them on the other side of his posting out so that he's less likely to strike me in my transition. Keep that head close. If my head is sagging, Hito, remind your partner.
Pick your head up, buddy.
Boom. Always coaching your partner, guys. Staying nice and tight. Now what? Because my head peeked out, backhand hugs. Hito might pull a punch. That's one option where we wrap on the punch. Hito may not pull a punch. He may leave his hand right there. Hug. Wrap the arm. Put your armpit right on it. Okay. Then grab the tricep on the way out. But keep yourself close. If his fingers are not, I remind him. If his hand's a little too stiff, right? We put the pressure on the elbow. We keep the hug. Our head stays close. And it all comes from my legs. I envision lifting my hips off the ground, pulling into Hito, and then putting both of our heads way up there. We fall. It's like the snow plow. He plows down. Now that we've landed, watch my legs, I readjust into my hook. Do not trap the back leg, and then I'm ready to rock and roll.
Yeah, when you plow me forward like that, I want to get back up,
Yeah.
and now my arm is under your control.
It's nice and tight.
And I'm going to always check the control. I check the fact that he's got my tricep. Well, look at that.
And I got it tight because my body's connected to his. And then from here, when you guys actually bridge and roll, it's helpful to use the back hand to reach.
Big reach.
Because if you keep it hugged when you roll, it might get stuck. It's a little annoying here. Okay, that's not the biggest concern, but it is a concern.
As well as it gives you more energy in terms of off-balancing me.
Yeah, because Hito might lean his body this way. Go ahead, lean back, lean back. This helps thrust his upper torso in the direction that I want it to go. Once we land, my head stays low and our forearms come in like he showed. Cool?
Check. Look how my light checks. Reaching for the face lightly. Maybe I go under slowly.
Block.
And Header is sensing my arm movement through his forearms.
Boom.
Look at my speed. I really want to help him feel and be able to follow me effectively.
And Hito already mentioned, but look how wide my knees are. I'm not narrow because if I'm too narrow here, you're very tippable. You'll fall. So just stay here for 5 to 10 seconds, you guys, and then separately brace the hips, disengage, and we're up. Okay? So
By yourself one time?
Sure. I got it. I'm coming down. Look, 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 look. They mount on me right when they mount. I sit up, I hug. Push off both feet, pull them down. But look how my head never dropped to the mat. From there, ratchet, slide. Ratchet, slide. I'm climbing up. Okay, from there, hug with the back hand, wrap with the front hand. Look how my wrapping hand goes north and over the subject's arm. Okay, not under, over. Boom. So I'm trapping it in my armpit. Once I do, I'm good to go. You can go tricep or you can go just elbow pinch and just keep your body hugged really tight depending how their arm is behaving. Okay? Because the one thing is this, if Hito is here and I do go for this elbow pinch or I go for the tricep but his elbow's on the ground and I'm trying to grab his tricep when it's not accessible, it might hurt my wrist. See my wrist right there? He might follow my wrist. So that's why if the elbow's low, I want to do elbow pinch. No grabbing the tricep. As he slowly pulls his arm out, that's when you grab a tricep. So the point is, don't try to grab a tricep that isn't there. If the elbow's on the mat, just pinch your elbow, trap, and go.
So one thing that helps me a lot since we added more details, go back real quick, is your hand right here. You can hold my back.
Yes.
It's not doing anything.
Nothing.
What's doing a lot is this elbow pinching.
Pinch.
So this hand can create a C, a cup, against my ribs. So put your knuckles tucked in my ribs more. There you go. So I'm gonna have my elbow on the ground.
I'm right here.
Even though he's not holding my tricep, his hand is in the holding tricep position. So when I pull, there's no chance that he's surprised.
Good point.
And he's late to catching the tricep.
Super bonus detail. So the point is, it's all about this elbow pinch right now, but my hand is still ready just in case. Look. Boom. And then here, make sure his fingers are safe, and then bridge, reach, and roll.
You gotta finish your solo.
Oh yeah. So then we hug the body, we climb the tree, we hug the back, we shoot the arm, we wrap the arm. Our C-clamp is waiting. He pulls out, we catch it. At this point, we have one foot trapped. We do not have the other foot trapped. We bridge, we look, we reach, and we kick over to our knees. Once we land, spread knees, forearms inside, head low, shadow, follow these arms. Following his arms, follow, brace the hips, jump up, strong side back, 2 hands on the hips, disengage, reverse rolls. Okay, punch block variation. And again, what you're seeing here is there's a core technique here. Here's a core. Hug the body, pull him down, climb the tree, wrap the arm, roll. But there are some bonus variables that if he does this, we do that. If he does this. These little extra bonus details, don't obsess over them in the beginning. These are the kind of things that when you watch lesson 1 the first time, you kind of ignore some of these bonus details.
Yes.
But then 6 months from now, when you watch this same lesson again, you're like, oh man, look at all these nuggets that I didn't quite practice so enthusiastically the first time. But now that I know all the core techniques, I love these little bonus details. So we throw them in there because they're important. Whether you're a student or someone who might be teaching this one day, they're important to know these little contingencies, but we don't expect you to practice every single little detail the first time going through a technique, just the core variation. But we do expect you to respect your newfound relationship with the principle, the distance principle and the ratchet principle for this technique. Mess up that distance, mess up the damage, and then ratchet is like boom, 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 trap and roll, mount, get up and get out. So this one is a gradual, slow, incremental movements in one direction without any steps back. That's the idea, tight and slow. Talk to me.
For the practice, in terms of starting position, you want to start from kind of the side mount.
Disconnected.
Kneeling next to the person and then step over to the mount. As well as if you want to, wake up one day and someone's mounted on you, like Henry mentioned, you can raise your hips up and knock their hands to the ground. But different startups so we can practice both of those and do it once each and reverse.
And one last thing regarding bad guy behaviors, if I'm the bad guy and I go like this, you hug my body, and I just go like this. Look at my bad guy behavior, guys. Go, Hito, climb the tree. Climb the tree. It's so annoying. He can't climb the tree because I'm not keeping it real. I'm not being an effective partner for Hito right now. I need to be up, pushing, disengaging, trying to sit up a little bit, being a little bit rigid with my body so he can, you see guys, so there is a right and wrong bad guy behavior for this particular slice. Now know this, let's say the person is a little bit wider and a little bit heavier, a little bit lower. We're going to learn what to do in future slices and in future lessons. There's always going to be an option for another technique. But for right now, the specific behavior that we are trying to prepare for is that of the subject who is determined to posture up. They have narrow knees, they have posted hands, and they're trying to sit up to a vertical position to deliver strikes. That's who we're talking about. Yep. That's who we're preparing for, and that's who we want your partner to behave as so you can get productive practice. If they change from that behavior, we're going to change our technique and response. That's just the way Jiu-Jitsu works. But we got to learn one before we modify one.
So one time each, reversing rolls.
Clean.
Never really striking our partner, right? At the most, you go like this and you touch. Open palm might touch their head.
Yeah.
Hey, pick your head up a little more. We're in the energy of working together. We're working together to prepare for the challenges you might encounter in everyday life.
They're not
real threats.
Yeah, your training partner is not the enemy. They're your collaborator. They're your partner. They're your ally. The enemy is on the outside somewhere. And I think at the core of this whole technique is the understanding that when you hug someone, you stay this close, even though they can reach your head. You're going to hear this theme, distance principle, a lot. Even though your head is close and it's accessible to them by a strike or a slap or a punch, it's not knockoutable because you're so close. And because they're punching with just their arm instead of their whole body and gravity. So that's the power of the distance principle when it comes to strikes, is you're disrupting their optimal striking distance. So even though you're punchable, the punches are so low on the punch power scale, right? This 1 to 10 scale, these are 1s and 2s. That's why you bite your teeth, you're gonna get a little bruised up, but you're gonna survive, you're gonna trap and roll, you're gonna make your exit. So we don't want to overreact to those small punches, and we want to know that not all punches are created equally, and really, from a striking and a street fight perspective, that is the essence of the distance principle. All the way out or all the way in is what we want, and you're going to see this in so many techniques, both standing up and on the ground. So let's learn this punch block variation of the trap and roll. Let's drill it. Same thing with our partner, back and forth, 1 for 1, giving feedback, encouraging one another, and then we'll move into the next slice, which is when the suspect gets low, gets you in a headlock, and hooks your legs in a way that makes this technique not quite as effective. We'll see you in the next slice. Trap and roll escape, headlock variation. So now we're getting a little more into the nitty gritty of situations, maybe a little bit more skilled adversary, someone who has a little, maybe not jiu-jitsu practitioner, but maybe someone who has a little grappling experience. Maybe they wrestled in Iowa in high school or something, who knows? So it could either be that he don't get taken down, controlled by a larger opponent, and they just fall into a headlock where they wrap his neck and lock him up, or it could be that he hugged me for the punch block, he pulled me down, he was climbing the tree. Instead of me trying to rebuild my posture to knock him out, I accept our closeness and I fall into a headlock, and I put my hooks in. So this person is simply more committed to connection, really, versus sitting up and striking you. So they're accepting the closeness of the engagement, and because I'm hooking both legs and hugging Hidon's neck, if Hidon simply tries to roll me in the conventional way, it's going to be tough.
Yeah, I can't quite roll. The leg is
his leg is
side,
hooked,
and I can't bring my arm through to wrap his arm.
He would like to do that, right? So if he keeps trying to come through, he's going to burn a lot of energy. He may not be successful in his escape. So let's show what would happen in this situation instead. Nice. And now we're here. Okay. And then he comes out. Excellent. We call this the trap and roll escape headlock variation. Check it out. So I come in and the attack is this. How we get there is not so significant, but it could be after a punch block. It could be just direct. I get into a headlock, and then I drop my hips on Hidon, and then I hook both of his legs with my legs. Want to show that angle a little?
Yep.
Look at my legs, you guys. I'm kind of grapevining Hidon's ankle or knees and calves with my hooks underneath. Okay, but let's roll back and talk him through it.
Okay. Heavy head, control the arm, block the punch. Remove, hook, and bridge and reach. Block, block. Drive him down, disengage. So when he gets me in a headlock with a heavy head and a tricep grab, I control his arm. Blocking the punch with the frame, with the forearm, I block the punch right here. And now, by extending my leg, I can circle my foot. From here, I raise my hips, slip my hand under, and do my big bridge. So the reason why I make my head heavy is because when he puts his hooks in and he hugs my neck, I don't want him to be able to change his mind. Pull your arm out of there. I don't want that. The moment he hugs my head, his arm now becomes mine. So heavy head, tricep grab, and a tight elbow. Pull your arm out.
There's no way.
He cannot pull his arm out. Blocking this arm right here, just in case he wants to punch with his free hand.
And it's the same punch block nature, friends, as the forearm block that we learned in the guard. So he's not using his hand, he's using his forearm structure, and he capitalizes and really leverages the use of his humerus bone as a means of preventing that punch.
Now with his hip pressure on me, okay, he's also, notice how he's giving me 2 hooks. I don't need 2, I only need 1. And this is why I extend and I free the back hook, the back side. I'm rolling to the side of the headlock.
Show that again.
The moment, once I extend, I slowly extend, I circle my foot in. As my foot goes to touch the ground, my hand goes under and I, boop. Block, block. He sits up, go ahead. Using my shoulder, my body weight, hugging his body. Maybe even pulling his wrist out on this backside.
Other side.
Driving him down.
Boom. Just keeping pressure, not letting me get up. And even if I start moving away, he follows me. Look, he's just tight. And now let's assume that the attacker may want to get up. So it's one thing to stop the attacker's punches after the roll. It's another thing to stop them from just standing up. Right? They may want to get back up to their feet. Hidon's keeping pressure and driving over the top, killing base points and constant forward pressure with a nice wide knee base.
Bad guy behaviors, you're laying down. When you're the person on top, sometimes it's not the most natural thing to drop your weight on someone like this. So lower your chest, hug the person's neck, and then take your knees off the ground and kind of wrap your ankles around their shin ankle area. So Henner makes the head heavy.
This is it, you guys. And this is where we talk about the priority principles for this technique. Anchor principle. Okay, the anchor principle teaches basically connecting any part of my body or Hidon's body to any surface for my advantage. So in this case, look what's happening. In one case, I'm anchoring my head to the ground to prevent the northward exit of his hand. In the other case, I'm anchoring his bicep to my neck to prevent the retraction of this arm out the back this way. So in 2 directions, I'm anchoring, and this is used in many, many other techniques. It's a very popular principle in Jiu-Jitsu. But I'm basically stapling my head, and by way of the anchor principle, I'm locking this in right here, okay? So now, that's the anchor principle. Now, the other one that we want to really touch on here is the velocity principle. And what the velocity principle teaches is the constant changing of your operational speed throughout the fight to always keep your opponent guessing, right? Because if you're always moving at the same pace, nothing's a surprise. If you're always fast, you're always fast. If you're always slow, you're always slow. But when you operate slowly and then you quickly change your speed, they don't know when to go or when not to go. Red light, green light. Things are always changing too abruptly. So let's flip the complete thing, bro. Complete, so they can see this side one time. I know you guys didn't see it in the last reps. So here we are. So I'm blocking Hito's punch on this side. Why? Because he could be attacking my face in the headlock, and 2 or 3 of these punches could be enough. So I'm always in here kind of shadowing this arm with my forearm. My hand may loosely be draping over, but it's really about the forearm. Come inside, I stop the swim. So I'm very sensitive with my arm here, not letting him have access to my face. If you use your hand, you don't have as much leverage, right? The leverage of this comes from the structural, the humerus bone structure, okay, in the situation. That's what prevents his hand from reaching my face. So in terms of velocity principle, right here, when it's time to go, what I need to do is kill this back hook by kicking my leg out. And then the moment this foot touches the ground, everything has to go. So there is a speed, a very noticeable and significant speed change that happens when I lift my leg up in the air, and then by the time it touches, there's no settling there, because that would give Hito the time to reintroduce a hook that could mess me up. So once again, we're here. We have our anchor principle. I've locked down on his headlocking arm, which has been the gift that he gave me in that headlock. I'm shadowing this arm. And again, I don't go like this. I don't like take the hook out, chill right here, wait, because Hito can throw his hook back in. Boom, it messed me up. So with both hooks in, I need to remove this hook to roll that way. Look what I do. I'm going to do it very slow. This leg goes high in the sky, high in the sky. Watch how by the time that foot hits the ground by my glute, this hand comes under. So by the time this touches, this guy's ready for the boom. Exact same time. Okay, guys? So we're here. Hooks go in. We're holding. Keep this foot trapped. Keep this one in the air. And as it comes in, watch the timing of the hand together. Boom! Punch and reach. Big roll, head low. We land right. We might even land in the punch block kind of arm configuration. Look at my hands. But then as soon as I sense that he don't want to get up, go. As soon as I sense that he might just want to get out and get up, I can't allow that. So he needs 2 things. He needs to slide out, then he needs to get up. So when he slides out, I follow. Always follow and keep my chest over his torso. Follow. When he sits up, I need to use upper body pressure and potentially scoop out a base point to lay him back down, breaking his balance. Okay, so from here, as he moves away, look how I follow. The moment he starts to sit up, look what I do. I go for the wrist, not the elbow. I don't want to hurt his elbow right here, unless his elbow was on the ground.
And you have more leverage.
It's more leverage here. So now my shoulder's going to hit him in the chest. My shoulder's going to punch him as my wrist scoop. Look, boom, and I lay him down. So I'm all about keeping pressure. Look. Boom, I'm driving. I'm pushing out my knees, and we're kind of crawling together. Switching sides. Come up again, sit up a little bit. Following. If he starts pushing my shoulders, go back. I squeeze his hips. So if he's trying to move me, I lock low. He starts to sit up, I drive. When I'm pressuring forward, he's following. Even if I just boom. So just the key is pressure and scoop. Do not let this person sit up. And then after all of that, if I decide I want to make my exit, we can do that just as well. But in the next slice, we're going to talk about how to advance and not make our exit. But for right now, the key emphasis after the trap and roll, headlock variation is don't let this person come out from underwater. Hold them underwater. Scoop, drive. Pressure, scoop, drive. By yourself once?
The battle, real quick, in terms of a safety tip.
Yep.
The battle between the hooks. So when Henner he hugs my neck, he puts his hooks in, and he wraps his toes somewhat around my shins. Just really being aware that the reason why we go slow is twofold. Because the truth is, Henner's trap and roll felt very fast. Because when you're anchor's not moving too much. All of a sudden, it's a slow extension, circle, and then boom, velocity. Now, going back to the safety tip, if his toes are wrapped around my shin and I kick my leg kind of fast, it can be a little awkward for his knee. Switch sides. So this side, his toes are wrapped around my shin. Just be aware of this knee.
The more persistent I am with my toes, the more injurious it can be on the tibial plateau of the knee. The top of the tibia where it meets the femur can be twisted in a way that can kind of hurt your knee a little bit. It can tweak your knee.
One more reason to extend slowly.
And for the bad guy to not persist too heavily in the grapevines, we call them, in the grapevines of those legs, those hooks. Don't persist too much.
So I hug someone's body. As I hug someone's body, I sit up, I pull them down. When I pull, I climb a little bit north, but now they wrap me in a headlock. Okay, as the headlock happens, right away, I look at what they're giving me. Wow, they're giving me an arm around my neck, and they're giving me 2 hooks. Let me secure that arm. Let me nail my head, anchor my head to the ground, and anchor their arm just against my head and under my neck. From here, I have my hand blocking the punch just in case, and I'm going to slowly remove the back hook. I extend it, circle it to the inside. as my foot is going towards the ground, the blocking arm is circling under, so both my foot and my reach can happen simultaneously. I get on top. Once I'm on top, I block biceps, but they start to scoot away, so my elbows are tight and I follow. Now they begin to sit up, shoulder drive, and then boop, pull the wrists out from underneath them. When they calm down, hands on the hips, and up and gone.
Headlock variation of the trap and roll. You can see this one being useful against someone who understands pressure a little bit. They understand hooks, as you're going to learn very, very thoroughly in future lessons. But anyway, someone lays down with a little grappling experience, puts a headlock on, right? And you don't have to be an expert, but you just know, wrap a neck and hook some legs, and you might think you have better control. And they will, unless you understand body mechanics, hook removals, anchor principle, of course, velocity principle. Boom, your hips fly, you get that nice big underhook, and now their hook that you removed has no value to them. So that's what we're utilizing to make this technique. We love the headlock variation of the trap and roll because it's so common even amongst skilled grapplers. So whichever arm they're hugging the neck with, that's the gift that they're giving you. Just make sure their other hand doesn't punch you as you get all your preparations ready. And when it's time to go, you go. Velocity Principle 101.
One headlock, one trap and roll headlock variation, and then a little bit of control.
Yes.
A little bit of get up prevention, and then you get up when you feel ready, and then reverse rolls.
Let's have some fun. Here we go. Open guard pass. So after you trap and roll someone, doesn't matter what variation, you have some choices to make. Do you want to disengage? Do you want to get up and get out? Or do you want to advance on the subject to a more dominant fight position, maybe achieve a submission or better control of your own to put the person into a compliant position, or ultimately take them into custody depending on what the objective is. So after the trap and roll, every case, where are you ending up? Hidon's ending up inside my guard. We've talked about shadowing the arms, and we've talked about controlling the subject and kind of scooping limbs and driving them down. And these are all great options if just keeping them there is the option. And then, of course, bracing the hips and disengaging. But what if you don't want to get away? What if, right? And why would you want to get away? Maybe you just want to get to safety. Maybe there's multiple attackers and you want to get back to your feet. But maybe this guy's loony and is trying to hurt people on the train, and you don't want to disengage because he'll start to hurt people, so you want to engage in a more powerful position.
But you need a strategy to get on top. You can't just step over with no plan, because his resistance, his bumping, twisting, and turning can very easily off-balance me. If I slide a leg over and I'm just doing whatever, I fall off balance. So check out how we advance from inside the guard, how we pass the open guard.
And then he chills. You'll feel it. And now he's in the mount. Love it.
So from inside the guard, this is what I did. We start with our blocks. We're controlling. When he chills, pin the leg, knee through, hug the neck, hand out, knee out. Check my base. Check, check. Second knee through. Mount. Staying safe, controlling. With my arm, I'm going to pin his leg to the ground. Now, I'm going to slide my second knee through. I'm going to slide my knee through, not my second knee. Slide my knee through. And my foot is going to stay hooking his leg. Hugging my arm, reaching my arm around, I hug his neck. And now, my second hand goes out for base. With my hand out and my knee out. Here, I'm lifting my hips up. I bring my second leg through, rotate a little more. My second leg through, slide over to the mount. And at the very end, releasing the foot, full mount.
Now, just to be clear, this is a situation where the person on the bottom does not do jiu-jitsu, so they're not closed guard, right, controlling in a way where they're skilled in their use of the guard. This is a human being who knows nothing about jiu-jitsu, just got rolled. You've just stopped them from sitting up for a period of time, stopped their strikes, but you've made the decision that you need to advance past their legs. So this is the most basic open guard, unlocked, the closed guard, open guard. Most basic open guard pass in history, and it's done from a close, tight posture with the sole objective of keeping this person on their back and then you advancing your legs past their legs, because from here, Hidon's ability to submit me, Hidon's ability to control me in a powerful way is limited because my legs are around his waist. Once he passes my legs, he ends up with his legs over mine, right? And this is the mount. So now Hidon has dominant leg positioning. That transition from inside my guard, inside my legs, this is called the guard. Hidon is inside my guard. that transition from this less favorable position to a more dominant leg position where he is around my hips versus the other way around, that's what we're pursuing here. And this gradual but tight method of transition is what we're focusing on right now.
So using my forearm or my hand, I push the leg to the ground. This gives me space to slide my knee through. Okay, the reason why I slide my knee through is obvious, is I want to advance. Now, once I slide my knee through, the hand that pushed the leg, its job is done. So now this arm can now go to hugging the person's neck. It's just one more method of keeping control and keeping me close to him so he cannot push me off. If I don't hug his neck, push my chest, he can potentially create space. But by hugging his neck, push me up, he can't. Now, with my knee wide and my hand wide, I'm much less tippable. Roll this way. If my knee is in and he bridges, look how I'm off balance. So knee wide, hand wide, neck hug, and a slight, I'm even reaching, like not like this, because he'll go under my arm. Go back. I'm reaching a little bit kind of up, and I'm owning his elbow. From here, I hold for a few seconds. He checks my base. I feel good. And then rotate, rotate. When I feel comfortable, my second knee slides through and over. It's not a huge step, okay? It's a very right in the middle right here, right across his hip. If I step too high, I might expose myself and be a little more off balance than I would like to be. So hand is out, even my energy is a little bit forward, and my knee slides through as my hips lift. Removing the back hook right here, and now I land in the full mountain.
Excellent. When we talk about the core principles here, you guys, we have to mention the prevention principle. And you've been doing it in the previous slices unknowingly, but prevention principle teaches basically the extreme level of success and victory and efficiency in simply preventing their objective. We don't need to impose our own objective if we're stopping his objective. In other words, stopping Hidon from achieving what Hidon wants to achieve is a massive victory. So if you want to punch me in the face, no, I'm just right here. I don't care what I want to do. I just want to stop you from doing what you want to do. Similarly, go ahead and sit up. If he starts to sit up, look, prevention principle. Okay, I'm just keeping him down right here. All I want to do is keep Hidon underwater. So at the core, prevention principle is like, yo, we're not going anywhere, staying right here. Burn their spirit. And ultimately, through doing this for enough time, you go like, man, I can't punch him. Yeah. I can't get up. What am I going to do here? When his spirit is broken because of my successful deployment of the prevention principle,
the fight is over.
That's it. It's almost like now I can advance. So we want you to be patient and apply that prevention principle before you make your advancement. Now, after you keep him down for a little bit and it's ready for you to make your advancement, typically whichever side you're facing, your head is facing, and whatever side you're more comfortable, that's the side you're going to pass on. Hidon was facing this way, so he was passing here. Just to give you guys the other side and see that it's the exact same thing, I'll pass here. When it's time to go to the legs, a lot of times I'll bring my hands and I'll bring it in and trap his hip. Hidon was doing this too. So on the back side, hip control is nice, so his hips can't escape me, while my front hand comes to the knee like he showed. Safety tip, as I push this leg right here, as I push, if I don't let this leg go, it's doing the splits, it hurts him. So I'm gonna take my torso and move it this way so that when I push this, his knee has a little more slack. This is just for practice with our partners. So we're here, I push, I move my torso a little bit over. I make some adjustments. While holding the knee comes inside.
Since you're already there, more safety tips. How careful he is in sliding his knee over my thigh. He's not dropping his shin bone on my thigh right here.
There's a tendon right here on the inside. There's a rubber band that if your shin drops straight on it, it sucks. So what I do is I shoot my knee way beyond it so that my ankle, which is relatively light, look, my ankle just drapes over that tendon and I'm not driving my upper tibia right into his inner thigh. So once we land here, this is time for the pyramid principle, right? And the pyramid principle teaches basically always positioning yourself for optimal base.
Yes.
That's it. It's basically the base principle, but with a cooler name.
And the pyramid principle is helping you apply the prevention principle.
Correct.
When you open your knee up right here, you hug my neck and you put your hand out, he's preventing me from off-balancing him, which all I want to do is get off my back, but I can't because the pyramid principle being utilized to prevent me from progressing.
I love that. I love how tight together there. But let's show what this might look like without the pyramid principle, how this same pass might look. Like if I kicked his knee down, I brought my knee in really tight, I hugged his neck, and I put my hand up north, freeze. We don't have a pyramid, we have a line. Because my hand, my knee, and my other knee, they're all on the same line pretty much. But when I'm here and I do this, look, spread this knee, spread this hand, and spread my back knee. Now, my 3 base points are, look, 1, 2, 3. Basically, it's the opposite of the Kazushi principle. It's the idea that make your base so that your balance is uncompromisable. And by spreading your base points wide, at least 3, right? Because if you have 2 base points at any given time, what do you have? You don't have a pyramid, you have a line, right, between those 2, right? You just have a one-dimensional plane here. When you add a 3rd base point, now you're less tippable in every direction because your weight is evenly distributed over 3 points, and at that point, Hito has to either kill one of my base points or move my center of gravity so drastically that that's unreasonable based on his compromised body position. And that's what we're trying to create. By underhooking this arm, by hugging his neck, Hito can't push me with his hand if I'm underhooked on it. So there is no push. Now, if I didn't have that, push me to your chest. He might be able to do that, like you mentioned.
Now, in this pyramid principle right now, Henner is so low and so wide, he feels like an actual pyramid. I feel like I'm pushing into like a wall. Now, there might be times where somebody bridges their hips very high, and your pyramid might shake a little bit, like a little earthquake. And Henner believes so much in what he has in terms of the pyramid positioning that I don't think you do any drastic changes. You do small sliding of the knee, adjusting of the hand. It's very easy to have the pyramid be compromised 20% and say, I'm losing it. It's not the case. You have to trust the foundation, trust the strength in this. So I do a big bridge, his knee moves a little bit, his head, drives, and then it's a dynamic control. It's not a fixed pyramid. I go to bridge the other way, his knee left the ground a little bit, but he made up for it by lowering his hips. So be a great partner on the bottom and give a little bit of energy, and top person stay true to all of the points of contact that you have with the ground.
As Hito mentioned, our back knee is going to trail right over their inner thigh and go right to full mount. That's great. There is also the possibility, if you don't feel safe mounting, because that's the one point where your hips do come a little higher and you're a little more tippable. So if based on their depletion of energy and their current state of explosiveness, you feel like, no, I don't want to go straight to mount. There's also the possibility that my back knee simply comes through here. And now I go off to what we call side mount, which is covered in great detail in future lessons. But this idea of from the open guard, you can go straight to mount, or you can come around to the side where it gives you a very nice pyramid and you land over here. So I was here, instead of going like this right through where I'm a little bit tippable, unless I do it quickly, the other option is that this back knee comes over his inside thigh. And now I remove both of my feet and I sprawl out and I get into side control with a nice wide pyramid, and a lot of chest pressure and a lot of neck hug. Like we said, discussed very thoroughly in other lessons. Want to do it once by yourself?
Yes. I'm inside the guard.
So maybe after a trap and roll, right? So he rolls. After any trap and roll, you land in the guard.
I'm blocking biceps. I'm preventing punches. They're trying to sit up. Boom. Prevent them from getting up. Drive them back down. Controlling hips so they want to move away. And then when they chill, I'm looking to the side. So I push the leg down, giving a little space for them not to stretch their legs too much. And then I slide my knee inside my arm. My foot stays hooking their thigh. As my knee opens, my arm hugs the person's neck. And now I'm going to look the other way. As my hand goes out, I get even lower and wider into this kind of pyramid principle application right here. So I'm low and wide, neck hug. They check my balance, no problem, no big deal. Once they chill, my second knee is going to slide up and over. So hips up, knee right on the inside. Careful not to knee the person in the groin, so go slowly, hips up, knee over, and then boom, boom, remove your foot that was on the thigh, and now we're in the mount.
Excellent. All right, you guys, this is our open guard pass. Very basic prevention principle. Initially, don't let them do what they want to do, and only once. That's the one, probably the most important part of the whole move. You don't pass this person's guard. You don't step over their legs until they're ready for you to step over their legs. And how will they tell you that? Okay, I can't move you. And then you go. So like chess, you move when it's your turn. And if they're wildly trying to strike at you, bridge, twist, off balance you, it's not your turn to move. Wait. Patience, right? The underlying principle of the prevention principle is patience, right? This idea that I don't have to do what I want to do right now to be effective or to be progressive. I simply have to stop my opponent from achieving their objective to make progress right now. That's a major advancement if I can stop you from doing what you want to do. It's really self-defense at its core. Self-defense. What are we defending against? Defend against their objectives. So, prevention principle, then when you climb on through, nice wide base points, always thinking base conscious, and your partner's going to check you like Hito said. In every little angle, they're going to check you, and then you're going to make your full advancement to the mount. or consider that possibility of even coming around a side mount, which is also a viable ending.
So right now when we practice, we do a trap and roll.
Any trap and roll.
You escape, you end up in the person's guard. When you end up in the guard, you control. Prevention, control. When you're on the bottom, don't push your partner's head too much from the bottom of the guard. Okay, push more on the shoulders, move your body away, try to sit up, and then as they pass, they bring their knee through. Now they're gonna end up mounting on you. And then you just keep going. And then your partner does a trap and roll. So we do a trap and roll, open guard pass. Trap and roll, open guard cast.
It works out perfectly because every single trap and roll ends in the guard, and every single open guard pass ends back in the mount. So it's a perfectly, infinitely cyclic drill. Yes. So do it as many times until you get tired of doing it, and then we'll catch with you guys in the bonus slice. Welcome to your first bonus slice. Why the cool name?
Because it's bonus.
It's bonus, you guys. You can
it's
live
extra.
Bonus is things you can live without.
You can't live without what we're about to show right now.
Well, fine. Let me change the definition then. Bonus are things that you won't be explicitly tested on at the end of this course, but you don't want to live without. There you go. So we were very selective of what things we wanted to include for each lesson in the program that we really love. And we really love. We love to teach. We love to use ourselves. And one of the considerations is, hey, if you have an opponent who's slightly more skilled, a little knowledgeable, right? Because most of this program is designed for an opponent who does not know Jiu-Jitsu. But let's talk about a possibility of someone who's a little more knowledgeable in the grappling arts. Maybe the standard variations of the technique are not as applicable because they're a little more aware. So that's kind of the essence and the kind of the foundation behind each bonus slice is if you're up against someone who's a little more knowledgeable, what about this technique can we share that will increase your effectiveness against them? Obviously, Jiu-Jitsu never ends, and there's counters to counters to counters to counters to counters. But what's the first thing we want to talk about after a trap and roll successful lesson that might be able to add to your arsenal? And I think, and he don't agrees, it's a person who mounts on you who determines that they are going to be unrollable. So they lay low, because a rollable person is someone who's narrow and squeezy, or punchy,
and maybe
or headlocky.
Yes, and maybe because you failed, maybe you showed them that you wanted to roll them, and then their hands slipped out.
So now they're here. So they're very wide, like not even wide with the headlock, right? We saw that one where they're giving you the arm, but they're even more spooked, and they're like, no, nobody's gonna roll me. And Hidon, for one reason or another, makes up his mind that the roll will absolutely take place. So for that, we have this bonus variation of the trap and roll, this spread hand variation. Check it out. Nice. And then rinse and repeat on the finishing details.
So here's what I did. Brace the tricep, block the arm. Walk the legs, slip the head. Double arm grab. Tricep control, wrist control. Free the back hook. Bridge.
Love it.
Hip pressure is on, hooks are in, hands are out, blocking. Wedging the tricep with the thumb full grip and walking my legs away from the side. Walking and slipping my head under. Watch. My head slips underneath. From here, both hands controlling the arm with thumbless grips. Pull your arm out. Pivot the hand behind the tricep. As he pulls it out, the hand, look how my hand pivots behind the tricep. Thumbless and thumb full grip. Extend that back leg, remove the hook, and bridge. So why is it that we wedge the tricep? To help me get this angle on him and get out from underneath. So wedging the tricep with a thumb full grip and walking my legs away, my head pops out. Once my head pops out, I know he wants to bring his arm back over my head. He wants to line himself back up. So both of my arms control his arms from doing that. Put it back over there, he can't. So again, it went from thumb full to thumbless. Feels stronger. Yeah. Now, once he can't put it back over my head, he's going to want to pull his arm straight back. The problem is, my hand that's wedged behind his tricep is ready to pivot as he pulls the arm straight back. So therefore, he ends up landing right into my net right there, my trap. Extend the leg slowly, remove the hook, foot down, and big bridge. So this movement right here, hooks are in deep, hands are out wide. When you wedge it and you move around, if after you grab this, always check, pull to the side, he can't. Rotate this way. When someone's gonna pull their arm straight back, my hand positioning is not on top. Notice that. I'm not in the best position to catch, pull your arm back. I'm late to the party. So really making sure that you're behind the arm. So pull it straight back.
It slows me down.
I'm very connected to it the whole time.
Yeah, it's so annoying.
This is by far the most common mistake. It's too much of a hug.
And then they're late.
And not enough of hug with this one for sure. But the backside tricep grab is a block.
Nice.
So as he pulls, go ahead, I use his energy and it pivots my hand.
Love it. Now, when people land right here, Hidon, are you doing something to make me pull my hand out, or do they always do it on their own?
They, 99.9% are going to do it because they want to be back to center.
They want to be back to neutral.
Right now, he's not over me. He's not in a place to attack me. His control feels
I feel
jeopardized.
compromised. With two arms on one side of his body, for a future principle you're going to learn, I feel compromised. So I want to realign my torso over Hidon's, and as I do, that's when he catches me on the way out. And then he kills the back hook, same exact time. As soon as he has the arm trap, he's ready to rock and roll. Let me try that, and then we'll show some different angles here. Maybe I'll do the completely different angle, actually. Let me give you guys the backside completely for the viewing purposes. Just to be clear, does this move work equally well when they're on their knees and hands really wide, like go really wide? See how you're not laying your hips on me? Mm-hmm. Or is it more commonly used when their hips are full heavy?
Yeah, I tend to use it more when the hips are very heavy. Try it one time right now.
Yeah, because your hands are...
Mm-hmm. So you're there, but the fact that I
have your knees...
I can sit up.
It's harder. That's what it is.
It's a little different. When I have my hooks in and I have my hip pressure on you, my arm cannot retract as far as if I'm on my knees.
So this is optimal, friends, when the person has very low body, very good pressure, and they're here. When we talk about priority principles we want to emphasize for this slice, remember, there are many principles that work in every slice, sometimes 5, 6, 7, 10, but the priority ones we want to emphasize are the pivot principle and the buoyancy principle, okay? Pivot principle teaches that by changing my angle relative to my opponent, I can increase my effectiveness. So right now, I'm having trouble trapping Hidon's arm. Maybe I can't. He's too wide. He's too low. His hips are too heavy. I can't climb the tree. I'm having trouble breaking it down. So like Hidon said, we're blocking one. I'm C-clamp. Hidon says thumb full grip. So it can be called a thumb full or a C-clamp here on the tricep. Okay, I'm going to use my feet to walk me relative to his arm.
pivot.
Pivot principle. So I just pivoted about 45 degrees. So we were here, block one, C-clamp the other, and check it here as well. And then walking my feet, his hips pivot with me, and my head just barely passes his arm.
My arm didn't even move.
It stayed, my head moved under the arm, not the other way around. Now I come up, big forearm hook, and pull this down, and keep this close, so he can't go over my head. My hand's thumbless grip now, right, palm pushing. As he pulls his arm out, I block his tricep, and then it switches halfway through. The moment that grip is good, now we're going to clear the other hook, put the foot on the ground, and we're going to go. You guys, the buoyancy principle teaches this idea that, part of it teaches the idea that surface at all costs. When you have a bubble of air underwater, what's that air bubble's tendency? Surface. So sometimes the buoyancy principle is offensive. We surface at all costs. We try to get to the surface of the water. And in this situation, we're basically doing a trap and roll against an opponent who is very determined not to be trap and rolled. That's why we say the buoyancy principle is being applied here, because we're saying we're going to roll them off and we're going to surface. That bubble of air is going to find the surface of the water one way or the other.
Which is not what most people are used to. What they're used to being told when someone is very wide is to do other escapes.
Which you'll learn.
That end up putting me inside his guard. But then where are you?
Still underwater.
Still on your back.
There you go. So that would be an efficient escape for other principles, but the sheer determination to get up after we trap and roll and stand up. Yeah. Now, why would that necessity for surfacing be so significant? Once again, if you're on the ground fight under someone, potentially multiple attackers, you see other threats start to enter the equation. You can't say, I'm just going to escape and put him in the guard, or I'm going to hold on tight, neutralize punches, and chill, because their friend might be coming up to soccer kick you in the head. So the necessity of surfacing may be a function of other threats, or maybe a function of your own desires for one reason or another. The point is, when you make up your mind that I'm going to surface no matter what, you're using the buoyancy principle to your advantage, and you're making it happen. So check, walk the feet. It doesn't matter that he has both hooks. Walk the feet for pivot principle. He pulls his arm out, go ahead. I check it, I circle, I grab, I kill this hook. And now we instantly bridge,
we roll, and now from here we're holding, and then of course we could pass the open guard, or we could be right here, try to sit up, Hidon. We could hold them down a little bit, put a little pressure, and then ultimately disengage and take that buoyancy principle all the way to the end.
By myself?
Mm-hmm.
So maybe I go for a standard trap and roll. As I bridge, his hand slips out. Boom, his hands are out wide. Now this person knows that I want to roll them off the mount. So from here, I'm hugging the body, I'm staying close, and then I go to blocking the arm.
Block one, check the
and
other.
Wedging my hand under the tricep. Walking my legs away, lifting on the track, pushing up a little bit. Even though I don't expect to move it, I slip my head, boom, underneath. Once my head slips under, both hands secure the person's arm. As they pull their arm back, they try to put it over my head, they can't. As they pull it back, my hand pivots, elbows are tight, sticky grip, kick the back leg free, put the foot in the ground, bridge on my knees.
Beautiful. Ladies and gentlemen, obviously if you have a training partner, you're drilling, you're practicing with your training partner. But we do these solo repetitions in every class for two benefits. Number one, it allows you to see the technique with no obstructions, no partner kind of obscuring your angle or view of how our bodies are moving in the course of a technique. But also, if you're solo at home and you're watching these techniques, you see how we do it solo. When we tell you to go practice right now for 5 to 7 minutes with your partner back and forth, and you don't have a partner, you do exactly what Hidon just did. So the solo demo serves two purposes. It's a visibility facilitator, but it's also a drill repetition kind of recommendation that you can absolutely do by yourself in times where you don't have a training partner present, but you still want to go through the motions of the technique. Every solo rep we do, we're fully visualizing our opponent, but we're simply not with our opponent on the training mat. So you can absolutely make progress by yourself, and that's another reason why we do these solo demonstrations in every single slice presentation here for you guys.
Cool. So from the mount, top person, put your weight on
Let those hips ride. Let the hips ride.
Give them your hips. Put your hooks in a little bit. Put your hands out wide. And when you're on top and you have your hands out wide, notice when the bottom person does the move, are they pushing your arm or are they walking their legs and slipping their head? They should not move you too much.
The hands should not move.
They should pivot to put you in an uncomfortable position, so then you say, no, I want to go back. And when you pull, the arm falls right in place.
And that pivot, the appropriate pivot Hidon's talking about, is facilitated by the fact that the top person does have full hip pressure and heavy legs, and hooks are floating in with nice hooks. If they're up on their knees and there is no hip pressure, it's understandable that the pivot will be more challenging and their ability to rip their arm out will be more difficult. So then you would use a different technique, maybe the punch block variation, where you hug the torso, climb the tree, wrap the arm. But someone who's propped up on their knees, already the very nature of their attack is narrower. And by being narrower, they're more trap and rollable in the conventional methods that you've already learned. So this truly is someone who just parks the car, puts those knees out, puts those hooks in, drives full hip pressure, hands out as wide as possible, and every cell in their body is saying, no, you're not going to roll me. And then Hidon's saying, yes, I am. Click, pivot, control, kill the back hook. Don't forget to kill that back hook, and then let those hips fly. All right, and of course, there are other principles at work here, but we really want you to connect with the pivot principle and the buoyancy principle as concepts that are going to serve you for the rest of your jiu-jitsu careers. Have fun, you guys. All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's time for your first reflex development drill. Now, these will become more and more robust as you progress through the curriculum, but to begin here, we want you guys to understand what the objective is. And simply put, the objective of every reflex development drill is indicator recognition mastery, so that we can develop our reflexes. That's it. Because when we do individual slices, we're saying to you, grab them by the throat. They're going to grab the arm and roll you off. So we're telling you exactly what the indicator is, and you're responding based on a lesson or a slice or a technique that we just taught you. So you don't have to choose. Your body doesn't have to choose because we're choosing for you. But at the end of each lesson, we cannot move on to the next lesson until we take some time connecting with the various indicators so that we can see to what extent we own those individual slices of the lesson, right? So if I mount on Hidon, for example, it's one thing for someone to say, Henner, grab him by the throat. And then he knows trap and roll standard variation. It's another thing for me to mount and not tell him what I'm going to do. But again, we're going to keep our activity right now within the confines of today's slices, of this lesson slice. We're not going to do random other stuff, but even within the 4 slices plus the bonus that we learned today, he's got some choices to make. His body has some choices based on indicators that I'm not going to verbally cue him on.
And
at least if he can do without it.
And even though the goal is to, help me build my relationship with the different techniques and build reflexes and so on, I know that my partner is on my team and that he's going to attack me very slowly. So I don't feel rushed.
There's no fear. It's just curiosity.
Yes. So when he attacks, notice how slow and how obvious, how much he telegraphs his attacks. So I have time to identify. And then over time, I'll become more effective at identifying and then executing my escape.
Now, here's one tip we will give you right now, that even though we call the choke variation the standard variation, it's a little bit of a misnomer, because when I mount on Hidon right now, if I'm not strangling him with my hands, the default should always be what? Hug. Always hug when in doubt, because the second someone mounts on you, the worst case scenario is that I'm able to sit up and land at this dangerous striking range and him not have closed the distance. So it's almost like the punch block variation should be called the standard variation because it's so default. But we like teaching the choke variation first, which is why we did it. But don't get tricked by the names. Just know that as a default, when someone mounts, you hug. Default is the punch block variation. So let's say that happens. So I'm here. This is how the drill will go. We're going to do a trap and roll for Hidon and then a trap and roll for me, but no one's going to tell the other person what variation.
Let me be under for a little
We'll
while.
do a little while? We'll do a little
Yeah,
while?
let me.
And then what? What if I do this?
Oh, he's switched.
Look at that, you guys. Boom. So he went from there, and then from here I have choices in my behavior. Am I striking or am I sitting up? Oh man. Hidon has a choice in his own behavior. Does he want to disengage or does he want to clear a leg, come on through and make his advancement to the next position? Go ahead. Boom, boom, boom. And then come on through and go. Now there's 2 ways to run this RD. One is I can now do my trap and roll.
Yeah, but let's make it me first.
Hidon wants to go. Hidon wants to go. Go ahead. Go, 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 go. Can't hug my body. Why not? Look, you guys. So when you can't hug, almost certainly it's because they're stiff-arming you with the hand on your throat. And in that case, you go to the standard variation. We're here. Man, he's too much pressure. He's too heavy. Okay, I'm give up. My spirit is gone. And then he disengages and he's out. Hidon wants to go again. And notice I'm not giving him any verbal cues. I'm just giving him physical cues. And I'm not resisting. I'm testing. Boom. 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 Beautiful. Again, checking. And my intensity level is what? Moderate at best. I'm just giving because remember, I don't need to give him intensity right now. I need to give him diversity.
Yes.
He just needs to feel different indicators. I got that. If he can simply respond with the right technique against different indicators. Now, over time, if we've done this program many cycles, I might do the same drill with some intensity in my resistance because his technique and convention and his reflexes permit that. But in the beginning, right now, first time ever, no. First time ever is simply testing, can he recognize the indicators and respond in kind?
Those few examples that you did where I started with punch block mindset, but then you pinned my neck. Or I went for the punch block variation, I pulled you down and you headlocked me.
Yep.
The change between one and the other and
Connecting those, that is very
Healthy.
That's the next level.
Yes.
Feel free to do it now, especially at this slow speed.
Boom.
That's really going to help you own these techniques.
This is it, you guys. Reflex development drills are your new best friend. It really is the test to verify, are you ready for the next lesson? And again, with no intensity, simply diversity of the slices and indicators being presented to you by your training partner, attacker there. Are you ready? Because you have enough of a relationship, not even that much, but just enough to say, okay, when they grab my neck, this is where I go. When they punch me, this is where I go. When I can't go there because they have me in a headlock, I clear that back hook and I go this way. Do you just have that initial relationship solid enough to where your body can choose the right response to the appropriate indicator? Or when they grab you in a headlock, are you completely flushed or going for the standard trap and roll and not even recognizing that it's the headlock? If that's the case, it might not be wise to learn more techniques right now because they're going to land on an unstable foundation. You really want to, again, you're going to get better and your reflexes will sharpen exponentially. You will become a black belt in lesson number 1, trap and roll escape. One day, down 10 years from now, you will become a black belt at this whole lesson. It doesn't have to be right now. All we're asking is that before you move on, there is some relationship, comprehension, and bond between you and each of these slices, and that bond is verified when you can respond with the correct technique, even when your partner doesn't tell you which variation you should do.
Yeah, you're responding slowly but accurately.
Yeah.
And you don't feel confused. But it's tough because it's so exciting. What lies ahead is so exciting. And we know you want to go there, but it's not going anywhere. Lesson number 2 is waiting for you for when you're ready. So spend time here.
Build the foundation. Here we go. Once you become comfortable in worst case scenarios cease to exist. That is the core mindset for lesson number 1, trap and roll escape. We started in the trenches here. You're in the bottom of the mount. They're strangling, headlocking, punching you, any one of the few, and they're just letting you have it. If you don't know what to do, that is truly the worst case scenario. But now you've seen it's actually not that bad. It's very manageable. And because of your ability to manage and know that you're safe right there, man, life is not that bad.
Yes. And as you train mount escapes more and more, you become more comfortable, and you just spend more time on the mat, period, you will soon realize that for someone to even achieve the mount on you is so unlikely. But it doesn't matter. Even though I'll probably never ever get mounted in my life in a street fight.
Ever.
I might land top of side mount on someone, bottom of guard. But for someone to mount me, it's so unlikely. But it doesn't matter. I still love knowing that I can escape. That confidence, right, spills over into other areas of my life. And in general, even in a fight, how you exist in a fight, when you know that no matter where you land, you'll be okay, that changes everything.
It changes everything. And from a technique perspective, if you forget all the details that we taught you, 2 things to remember. Manage the distance, because then you're not knockoutable. Stay close. And trap one side of their body. How you trap their leg, how you trap the arm is secondary to just trapping one side of the body, and then Kazushi principle.
So
off-balance him.
So distance principle,
isolation,
and Kazushi.
That's it. If you have those 3 principles from the bottom of the mount, you're going to be okay.
You know the trap and roll.
That's it. You are the trap and roll.
While concrete will give you the best traction when it comes to closing the distance, it may be the most unforgiving terrain to fight on. Unlike the soft mats we're used to, during concrete takedowns, you need to be aware of what parts of your body will impact the ground. When you're on top of the fight, you need to make sure you keep your weight off your knees and elbows and let your opponent carry your weight instead. If you end up on the bottom, keep your head off the ground, and under no circumstances do you want to let your opponent pick you up and slam you. If they begin to pick you up, open your guard and bring your legs into the fight. Bottom line, if you fight on concrete, you're gonna get scuffed up. Our goal is just to make sure it's more bumps and bruises than broken bones.